Okay, welcome everyone for the evening question and answer session. I will start with the already written questions. While it is going on, if anyone has any comments or any statements, it's welcome. Venerable Sir, please explain the difference between the Asava and Anusaya. Again, sorry to trouble you. Of course, these two there is no such a remarkable difference you can understand. Kilesa, or the defilements, are three in layers. Vitikkama, Pariuttana and Anusaya. Vitikkama is translated as transgression kind, Pariuttana is as obsessional, and Anusaya is underlying tendencies or latent tendencies. So Anusaya is the generic category. Within that only asavas come into being. So the Anusaya, Raga Anusaya, Kamaraga Anusaya, Patika Anusaya, Ditta Anusaya, Avijja Anusaya, it has been recognized. And asava also, Kamasava, Dittasava, Avijjasava, three types. So there is no specific thing. We can say Anusaya is the broader category. Within that, asava also working. And asavas are being translated then something oozing, something in flux, something intoxicating the mind. And Anusaya is recognized as underlining or the latent shape or in disguised form. So that is the broader category we can make for the sake of our theory understanding. Sadhu Sadhu, Venerable Bhante, you preach that not only our Lord Buddha interested in Lord Venerable Bhante, you preach that not only our Lord Buddha interested the Vinaya and its being under research. I can't understand this because our Lord Buddha has Swayambhu Samma Sambuddha. Were you also under any research by anybody? Please forgive me for asking that. One of your Sravakas, Thero, Venerable Bhante, you preach that not only our Lord Buddha inherited the Vinaya and it is being under research. You preach that not only our Lord Buddha inherited the Vinaya and it is being maybe some kind of a misunderstanding is there. By reading again and again, I can't really go into the real point. You preach that not only our Lord Buddha inherited the Vinaya and it is being under research. So if the person can give me the correct understanding, we can go for. I will leave it, and if someone wanted to do any adjustment or corrections. This is the way I read. If I am reading wrongly, I leave this question. Please correct it and put it in proper order so that we can take it for the discussion. Garu Swamin Wahanse, what is the taming of jhana or dhyana vashi karaganwa? How to do that? Please explain. Thank you. Usually this is happening in the samatha meditation, where usually the jhana is coming to be. Whenever you are training according to one of these 40 subjects, basically the concentration, gathering the momentum, once it go up to the access level, usually the person going to start the benefit of this concentration, and then according to this this called not training, it says that mastery of the jhana, first time it is going by the power of concentration, and when it is happening again and again, one can take the situation under control. These are 5 masteries are recognized in the Theravada tradition. Whenever necessary you can go in, and whenever necessary you can come out. These are 2 kinds, and the third one is the particular time you can determine and be there. That's the third one. Fourth one is after coming, emerging from the jhana, you can recollect what was the mental state, what was the nature of the stream of consciousness by your rational mind. That is the 4th mastery. The 5th one is analyzing that jhanic consciousness, basically to see the 5 mental, the jhanic factors, namely applying thought, sustaining thoughts, rapture, gladness, and the one-pointedness. So you analyze and see in that mental state that you have remembered, whether you can see them with when you are observing with the theoretical understanding. This is the 5th one. So whenever you do this kind of analytical approach or mastery of the jhana, you can understand the advantages and the disadvantages of the each and every jhana. Due to the advantages only you go into, but after a while it become enough. It become flat off, and there are the disadvantages coming to be. After comparing the advantages and the disadvantages, you can either go to another higher jhana where you have more and more advantages and less disadvantages. That is how this mastery is in helping one to advance according to this concentration. And this is, it appears to be not clearly indicated like this in the canon, but these are later the commentarial expansions, exegesis it seems. But in the Theravada tradition, specifically the samatha, the teachers, they are really encouraging this one, so that you can have kind of a control. You can have the much systematic development of the concentration. Venerable Sir, the meditation in the retreat situation helps to minimize the ego, I, etc. However, when we get back to the lay life, due to the less time for meditation, does the ego start building up? If so, what should we do to continue to lessen the ego in lifestyle? So be in the retreat for a long time. That is simple answer. And but if when you go there, at least you can understand. If you systematically practice, you can reduce it. That means its vulnerability, its breakability, you can understand. That is how you develop the confidence against this ego. Otherwise it is mastery, it is controlling everything. So therefore, by systematic application of moral training, concentration and the training and the wisdom training, one can see the results of weakening of it. But definitely you know why it is developing, because it is you allocate little less and less time in the day-to-day activity. Therefore it has the chances to come back to. But anyway, your confidence, your mental power is building up. So therefore, even under the day-to-day life, you may find ways and means to weaken it, and at least you can see when the ego and the I-centered idea, when it is increasing, how much it is negative, how much it is damaging in the internal and external communication and the affairs, and therefore your vigilance is increasing. So therefore, even in the temporary basis on the retreat situation, this practice is appreciable. Venerable Bhante, does Buddhism agree with the being hypnotized, maybe, or be it against Buddhism? This is the hypnotism, I think, basically introduced by the Western kind of, if I correctly read it, Western kind of psychoanalysis and psychotherapy. But in the Buddhism, it is not much appreciated, though there is no much direct relationship with the canonical teaching. But I know there are some people, those who are interested in psychoanalysis based from the Buddhism, also try to see, and specifically to see the past life relationship and healing effect and the removal of the pent-up anxieties. They use it, but directly you can't find any relationship according to my understanding. How do we know that we have come to jhanas as we continue with Anapanasati? Can you please explain this? This is also, we can say, some commentarial points they have mentioned. 6 negative things and 4 positive things. What are the 6 negative things means? Mind is not associating the past and the future. It's 2 things. Mind is not overexcited or fallen to sleep. Another 2 things. And mind is not the desire or in the head. These are the 6 negative things you find absent whenever the mind come up to the access concentration. And the other thing is all the faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration and the wisdom, they are all not multi-directed. Everything is coming to the single pointedness. It is one feature. Other one is you can understand faith and the wisdom never fighting each other. They are balanced. The energy and the concentration also in a balance, and the mindfulness is really controlling these couples. And the third one is there's a specific amount of energy you have to allocate, and that particular energy is being allocated, therefore there is no much of agitation, and you find and you feel the value of repetitive application of the same situation to get the synchronization, to get the balance, and these things you develop. When this is happening, you feel kind of you are going into the highway like. There is no much of trouble, then you can go ahead. These are the signs given. Or otherwise, just like as I mentioned in the early answer, Nivaranas are not available. Instead, jhanic factors like Vitakka, Vichara, Pechasuka, Ekagata available. These are the ways we can understand theoretically. The second answer is more to the practical side, whether you reach substantial amount of concentration. Is there a relationship between asava and conditioning? Sometimes this is asavas are conditioning, but the past conditioning, therefore they are in a preserved form, not subject to the time dimension. So therefore, even in the very historical past, thing also just preserved, may be attributable to the conditioning. If so, what is the relationship? Some reconditioning is possible. Since reconditioning is possible, does it imply reconditioning of asava is also possible? That is the difference many try to find in the Western psychology and the Eastern psychology. In the Eastern psychology, something like the Buddhism, we analyze asava in order to recondition and get rid of. But the West, this is, there is no permanent answer like that. By analyzing it, you can't completely get it off. So therefore the Buddhist way is very radical. It is very electric. We are not learning, we are not understanding asavas only for the sake of understanding. By seeing and by observing, they will be weaned off. They can be, in the sense of reconditioning. So therefore it is, our meditation is to bring them under the light of mindfulness. Then it loses its power. Dear Venerable Bhante, I recall and rejoice on my practice of dana, sila and bhavana. Does this rejoicing fall into the asavas? Asava dhamma or defilements. But I rejoice, I encourage me to try to practice more. It encouraged me to try to practice more. So in the Anusati Bhavana, you have Chaganusati and Silanusati, Devatanusati. That is, you are again and again reminding the good, generous action you have done. So therefore, when you are practicing in the past, how your stream of consciousness became more and more to the wholesome side, by remembering, by reminding, be mindful again, even the present moment you can make it less and less with the raga or desire or hatred. So you can purify the stream of consciousness. So therefore they are standard method to recall your good deeds, wholesome deeds, and they are come under the Anusava Bhavana, Anusati Bhavana. So therefore it is a good accepted practice, but the thing is you have to take care whether it is going to increase the desire, conceit and the view. That means that you are comparing with others as far as the conceit is concerned. Others are not so good, I am the only person doing, therefore they are inferior, I am good. Or otherwise, while even in the meditation center or meditation retreat, you are thinking about dana. This is the center, this is the time you allocate for bhavana. But even when you come here, if you can't forget about and be engaged in the meditation, that is a kind of a desire. And the views also, if you feel that to go to the heaven and all the kind of thing I have to have, rather than getting the understanding in this very life, dana and sila can be contributing in the bad way to have that kind of a michhaditti. So if it is attributing to such, you have to understand its weaknesses. If otherwise, if you know how to put it in the productive way, no harm, it's a technique. Am I in a slipping slope in a deep hole, or am I on the right path towards the stream, however far the stream may be? So this is what the Buddha says, you have to see, you have to understand it. By you understand correctly, you are better off. Otherwise, still the danger is there. So therefore, whatever the good thing you do, whatever the bad thing you do, the impact to your spiritual progress, you have to weigh it. Sometimes maybe due to your, with the help of your theoretical understanding or book knowledge, sometimes with your deductive knowledge, but really with the direct touch. So then and there you have to be alert to see the pros and cons. Question 2, the practice of striving to achieve the stream entry in the practice of striving to achieve the stream of entry in during me to attend these retreats. Does my wanting to attain such state fall into the vibhava tanha? This is sometimes called Dhamma tanha, not the vibhava tanha. Dhamma tanha means that you have the desire to achieve this highest goal in this very life or in this retreat. That can happen. Of course it is a desire, but in the Bhikkhunu Upasaya Sutta, the Venerable Ananda says, some people can make use it in a productive way. That means that desire itself you can use to get rid of the desire. That means that you understand people are motivated by the desire. Some are to materialistic kind of goals, some are to immaterial kind of goals, and yet another few amount of people for the complete emancipation. So with your achievement and others, if you make a determination, I also will make a desire to have the emancipation in this very life or in this very retreat or something like that. You can get rid of the desire for the sensuous pleasure and the desire for immaterial pleasure by this supreme kind of pleasure, and it can be a motivation. And if you know how to handle it, it can be used in the productive way. And in this particular sutta, the desire can be used, conceit you can use, and foods you are using. These three you can use in order to get rid of the desire for the food, in order to get rid of your lowly kind of conceit. You can use the higher kind of a conceit, and slowly you replace the grosser thing by the subtler thing, and the subtler thing by the subtlest thing. Likewise, the same thing you can use in a radical way. when we do walking meditation, most difficult thing to do with mindfulness is the turning back without disturbing the already obtained samadhi. I saw in the retreat one lady yogi walking backwards without turning. Of course, she did it in the walking path inside the meditation hall. I tried that too. If it less disturbing and working well, can you please explain okay to practice? I think that there's one book published by this Bodhijnana monastery, Dhammajiva, and he has given a very nice talk. It has been published in the Bodhijnana monastery, Bodhijnana magazine, and walking meditation in Thai tradition. In that, that Bhante has been explaining it. Specifically, you can try this radical kind of walking backward whenever you feel sleepiness in the walking meditation. Walking backward. And whenever you are stepping backward, you have to have extra alert. You have to be very alert to maintain the pace. So therefore, the sleepiness can be tackled, but whether it is developing a concentration or not, it is not well being discussed. But it's a strategic way to have some kind of arousal of energy, specifically against the sleepiness, slimy mind, but not to the particular case where that the question is asking how to maintain the concentration in turning. For that, this will not be the direct answer, but this is also something one can try as an alternative to the conventional way of walking. But I am happy that they are doing inside, otherwise people will think this and that. So therefore you have to be aware of the atmosphere when you are doing this kind of thing. That's all I think in... I have some one questions. Venerable Bhante, this is just a suggestion and not related to the Dhamma. Is it possible to start the question session at 7:30 p.m. and take nearly 2 hours, 10 hours together? I think this change of time for the question and answer depends on what the majority thinks. What do you think, Bhante? For the days like today, I finish interview by passing 7:30. So I think I must have at least 30 minutes gap in between two, otherwise it will be too much of talking. So therefore, if the interviews are going on like this, and if everyone is reducing the interview for 5 minutes, it is possible. Otherwise, very difficult to cope up. From 6 o'clock till 10 o'clock I am talking. So that I have to economize. Please explain the mechanism which Manasikara connect with the Pancha Upadana. Also how bad karmic actions accumulate into taints. This is interesting. Then this is Manasikara, how to connect with and not to connect, how lead it to the Upadana Kanda. Manasikara is, it has been translated as the adverting, directing your attention. This is very important when you have a last array of things. There you have to employ your choice, which one you are going to have. Whenever there is a big combination, specifically when you go to a supermarket, you can see number of products. And which one you are going to take. Something like that when you are observing the visual objects, many shapes, many colors and there. Which one is more attractive? When you are listening, many sounds are there. Which one is attracting? Which is the one the ear is going to give the priority? Smell, taste, touch, thoughts. There are 6 faculties. Within the faculty, so much of variety. So, when a person is outdoor and open with the 6, what is the, which one is going to get the priority? Whatever the thing going to get priority, dominate others. So therefore, immediately the Manasikara decides, Manasikara is the aspect, mental factor deciding what you are going to do out of this varietal entertainment. So therefore, a simple observation one can easily understand, there is no agenda. So much of things are there, and then your choice is quite ad hoc, impromptu, improvised, electric. And soon you selected, that particular thing dominate everything, and your course of action and everything is completely decided by that. And next thought moment, again new opportunity. Likewise, there is nothing. So therefore you have to understand, Manasikara is it's an endowment, but if you are not using it in a careful way, you become a slave to the Manasikara. But if the meditation, if you master this one, then you can understand is selective absorption you can do. Varana portion here. And when that happens, you can see you have a certain amount of controlling, certain amount of mastery about all the different things in the different thing coming inside into your senses. So therefore, Manasikara, if it will be Yoniso Manasikara or Ayoniso Manasikara, Yoniso Manasikara means you have an idea about the function of Manasikara and you know how to use it in the wise way. Ayoniso Manasikara is you don't know and it is completely out of your control. And therefore, the external thing going to control you just like a remote control machine. When the Manasikara mastered, you are no more subject to the remote controller. Situation is somewhat under your control. So therefore, whatever the out of the given thing, what you select is decided by the Manasikara, and that decide your course of action. Each and every thought moment going to happen. So therefore, whenever you are mastering the Manasikara, when you are try to cultivate your mind with respect to the Manasikara, first of all you have to reduce the number of influx. And it is limited, it must be neutral thing, then only you can employ, you can apply the Manasikara in a limited range and then understand the mechanism and then slowly increase the number of options. There you can understand under what circumstances you get the highest amount of efficiency in the Manasikara and how far you can go for a wide array. That is why in the sitting meditation you have only the bodily contacts, theoretically, and therefore no seeing, no hearing, no smelling, no touching, no thinking encouraged. So you find bodily sensation also reduced to the involuntary actions only, no voluntary action. And upon that you try to develop the Manasikara. Manasikara means the applying thought, menehi karanawa. And then if you get that kind of a training, you go to the walking meditation, their eyes are open, sounds are there, still you try to see whether you can do focus specifically on the desired object that you decided, namely the right leg and the left leg. And therefore their Manasikara is much higher, challenged than the sitting. And then only you can go from there to the day-to-day activities. The time pressure is there, intention is there, all the faculties are working. Under such circumstances, can you control? Can you master the manasikara? It's a challenge. So accordingly only tanha or upadana arises. The desire or clinging happens. So relationship between the manasikara and clinging, many describe your manasikara basically decided by your personality traits. What you bought from the past. What is your personality or your liking and disliking. Simply, without meditation, you don't know who you are. You don't know your likings and disliking. Once they manifested only, you can come to know. But if you meditate, before the manifestation, you can understand what character type am I? What kind of a person am I? This is a very good way to resolve this question. So therefore, some Hinduistic meditation teachers, they say the whole meditation is to understand who am I. Understand under such circumstances what is my reflective reaction, what is the way I am behaving like. You have to be very vigilant to see. But in the Buddhist way, vipassana, it is not limited to understanding what am I. It is dissolving ego also happens. So in that sense, the manasikara is quite a critical aspect. Only a radical person, only a person with the persistency, the durability of the effort can understand it. Otherwise, many will give up on the halfway. Because manasikara is quite an unruly kind of a mental factor. Dear Bhante, can a yogi shift from samatha to vipassana and vice versa? Some meditation teachers say that a certain yogi is a samatha person. How do you make this distinction? This is, many are happy to hear that there's a set pattern of samatha and vipassana, personality-wise samatha vipassana, but at last, at the best it says, everything is subject to change. The samatha person can be a vipassana person can be samatha. As well as that changing from one to the other, one aspect to the other aspect, it depends on the manasikara. There are still some character types, that is why the Visuddhimagga has recognized Samatha Yanika and Vipassana Yanika. And Yuganadha means connecting both together. Some people start with Samatha and go to Vipassana. Some people start with the Vipassana and come to the Samatha. And some people do this kind of a Yuganadha means mixing both, harnessing both together. So therefore it is very difficult. Theoretically you can of course draw some lines, but very difficult. One of the masters was contemporary, who never give any distinction, was Venerable Ajahn Chah. He never tried to discriminate the Samatha way and Vipassana way. And all the masters, they some or the other in their teaching, there's a kind of a Samatha and Vipassana. In my method also, what I think is, keep the issue open. So therefore, as far as you keep the mindfulness as the forefront thing, this question never arises. But maybe for everyone, it is difficult to keep the mindfulness as the most important thing. If the mindfulness takes the upper hand, it decides according to the circumstances and according to your personality traits, it decides the way it must go. But whenever the concentration becomes the decisive factor, this question arises. And there's yet another part of the question, what does the word Yuganadha means that harnessing. Yuganadha means nagula, putting two cows, the oxens together, and then you harrow. So that means Samatha and Vipassana put together. You harness together and then you get the work done. And there the mindfulness is the forerunner, not the concentration. Whenever the mindfulness is there, it creates the concentration. Sometimes it's Samatha concentration, sometimes Vipassana concentration. You keep the issue open. What are the qualities of a good meditation teacher? How do you know that you have found a good teacher? It's appropriate for a teacher is it appropriate for a teacher to favor some yogis over others? It is not really yogis. Within the bracket it says donors. Of course, if it is a donors, I think it is appropriate. But the yogis wise, better to keep it open. The good qualities of the meditation teacher, it says that Mitta Sutta, Kalyana Mitta Sutta, and number of places the Buddha has tried to give the theoretical answer for understanding a good teacher. And the Buddha exemplified by his character, 45 years, the best Kalyana Mitta, and most direct answer, theoretical answer is Piyocha Garbhavaniyocha Vattancha Vachanakkamo Gambiranja Katankatta No Chattane Niyojayi. These are the 10 qualities usually discussed in the discuss as the theoretical answer. Piyocha Garbhavaniyocha. Pyo means that if it's a meditation teacher, he must be a priya. That means a desirable character. It's not difficult to access. Garu means he has the good moral precepts. Maintain Vinaya, moral code and monastic code. Bhavaniya, already he has helping others and people are trusting upon him. So therefore he also radiates loving kindness and he receives enough loving kindness from the others. Bhavaniya, Piyocha Garbhavaniyoja, Vattancha Vachanakkamo. And he is duty concerned, and whatever the response of the yogi, he has to be very dutiful. But even then, some yogis are giving harsh words, the wrong behavior, criticism, but for them he must be forbearance. Vachanakkama. Vachanakkama means that even the harsh words coming, criticisms happens, he must try to cope up with. Vattancha Vachanakkamo Gambirancha Katankatta. Whenever giving a talk, he has to lead further and into the depth and more and more profundity of the Dhamma. This is very difficult for the lay people and others, because their mind is so much of involved with the lot of duties, so therefore very difficult to bring, but he never give up. Try as much as possible to take it to the depth and to the profundity. Gambiranja Katankatta, no chattane niyoje. The last one, never discriminate them. Never use them for your private gain and fame and all the kind of thing. You use them only for the sasanika work or the religious work, but beyond that don't take it as a personal gains, or don't misuse them, misappropriate them. So these are the qualities given in the this Mittanisansa Sutta. I think that is the name of the sutta. And the best way to answer is, if you yourself is not a good friend, you will never see good friends. So first of all, you have to have these 10 qualities. Then only you can understand the other person who is having these qualities. So if someone is telling nowadays there are no teachers or people with these qualities, that the particular person who is telling is having the weakness. He don't have these qualities. That is why he can't see others. So whenever you develop the fear, affordable, the reachability and the desirable character, then only you appreciate teacher's desirable character. Garu Bhavaniya, all the characters, whenever you develop only you understand more and more value of the teacher or teachers, and ultimately you go further and further, you will understand the qualities of the Buddha, qualities of the Dhamma, qualities of Sangha. So therefore, it is the sword with two edges. Till you develop your qualities, you can't understand the qualities of the others. And but the question is asking one way, how to find the teachers' good qualities. That is very difficult to get in the supermarket. Why is heaven? One word is missing. Why is the word realm most conducive to attainment that Deva realms? Can Devas meditate? Why is the human? Why is the human realm more conducive to attainment than Deva realm? Can Deva meditate? It says, philosophically, in the human realm, the pain and the pleasure somewhat balance, and suffering and the loss and the gain, there's a kind of a balance is there if you are really skillful, and you can come up to a above average level, and then you have enough raw materials to see to develop the urge of the samsaric, the suffering. But in the Deva realm, you are dwelling upon your past merits, so you are in the more to the pleasure side, and no much of suffering you can see. In the animal realm, so much of suffering, you can't raise your nose up, because there is no time, no escape because of the fear. So that is why it says that human realm is the conducive condition than the Deva realm. In the Udana, not the Udana, it is the Ichivuttaka Pali, there is one sutta that is called Nimitta Sutta. And one day all of a sudden the Buddha give an episode, a narrative from the Deva realm. He says in the Deva world, these beings are living for long time, and most of the time they are in the dancing and playing and all the kind of thing. But all of a sudden they feel one particular Deva is showing some colors, and so soon he is going to disappear. There are 5 signs, it seems, that he is no more attractive to his own dwelling place, the Vimana, and the Deva world, ambrosia and the other food he is not much interested in. His garlands are becoming wilt off, and the body is becoming smelly, and his clothes becoming soiled, or become slowly gathering dirt. So this indicates 5 signs that he is almost about to leave. And then the other playmates and others come and console him, telling, "Oh dear Deva, you better go to the Sugati, that's a better realm, that's the Deva realm, and then get what is the best you can get, and third, try to establish what you get. Itobo sugating gaccha, sugating gattva, suladdan labal labha, suladdan labal labitva, supatitito bhavahi." And then after the Buddha gave this, one monk is raising a question, Bhante, to the Deva world, what is the Deva world? And the Deva come and says, you better go to the heavenly planes, and for the heavenly planes, what is the heaven? Then the Buddha says, for the heavenly beings, the heaven is the human realm. And so then that particular monk is accepting the Buddha's statement. Because devas are waiting to come into the human plane, that means. And then he says, okay, if that is the case, what is the deva expect this particular deva to go to the human realm, and what is to gain? What is the basic gain that devas are appreciating? Then Buddha says, saddha. When you come to the human world, if you do not have saddha, nothing can be possible. Saddha is the more basic motivation for you to go in search. Therefore, once you come here, if you don't get the saddha, you are almost lost. Okay, then the monk is, second question answered. Then he asked, okay, Banda, what is the meaning of establishing what you get? Then the Buddha says, once you get the saddha, you have to make it a avekkapasada, the unshaken saddha, by becoming sotapanna. So that is what the devas are waiting, to come here to the human world and develop the saddha and make it confirm, unshakable, and then if such a person go back to the human deva world, it's a huge gain for the deva. So that is why console like that. So when we being human, going to the kovila or the what you call shrines of the deva and praying deva, please give me a scholarship, please make a visa to that country, or let me like that, I don't know how much the deva will feel ashamed. Because they are waiting to come here and we go and pray them, please do it like that. So therefore we have to understand what a precious opportunity we get, at least from the point of view of the Buddha. And being there, always pleading others and praying others to get something. That means we are not straightening our qualities, straightening our capacities, and therefore we have to go up to that kind of level. But when you are developing the faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration and the wisdom, and there is no comparable thing, even the Buddha is appreciating. So therefore, meditators must understand, it is not to develop the conceit, but to understand the maintaining of this is it's quite an achievement. It's a matter of enduring, matter of continuing with the same. It is a task. Venerable Bhante, during Anapanasati meditation, I have experienced 3 of the 4 elements at various steps. There are Patavi, Vayo and Tejo. I have not clearly experienced Apo, although the soft moving forms have been experienced. I am not sure whether this is soft side of the Patavi. Can one experience Apo in meditation, or is it binding the other 3 without manifesting by itself? This is the theoretically is completing, because the question is asking how to experience the Apo Dhatu. Apo Dhatu means the cohesive and the liquidity, and it says the function of it is the binding the Apo Tejo, the Tejo Vayo Patavi. So sometimes when you are meditating, you feel this some sensitive area, like as if you are put a mask, or you feel this area is titillating and tingling and binding together and separate from the other body. So this indicates the binding nature of the Apo Dhatu. And sometimes you see the fluidity flowing, tears are coming and salivating. Sometimes you feel the titillation in the throat due to its wetness, and sometimes sweating. And this is the way you feel the Apo Dhatu in the gross way, in the sitting. So whatever may be, lack of Apo Dhatu is the binding, too much of Apo Dhatu is flowing. So these things can happen, and never two elements appear in one time. At a time, one thing become prominent, next time another thing prominent. Ultimately, the deductive knowledge only, inferential knowledge only understand all the four, but they are not manifesting all the four at a time. One thing only manifesting at a time. Please clarify this. There is no gap must be between the in-breath and the out-breath, but between two breaths there is a small pence, P-A-N-C-E or P-N-S-E? Pause, P-A-U-C, okay. There is no pause between between in-breath and out-breath, but between two breaths there is a small pause. That is how that it is called thin slicing of the time. At the beginning we see the breath as a one chunk, in-breath, and out-breath as a one chunk. But when your vigilance become increased or become immediate, you can see small tiny fraction of time, there only you can see they are coming close to each other, something like this flow. Once the good carpentry finished, it appears like a one plank, because they are nicely fitted together, and therefore the dirt you start from here, when you sweep, you can take it to the other end because it is nicely fixed. But you know they are fixed in such a way, small pieces. So when the time passes, they disintegrate. So exactly the same thing, when the mindfulness increase, the vigilance increase, you see they are agglomeration of particles or putting together. So if your sharpness is there, you see not only the in-between, in-breath and out-breath, not only the between breaths, even within in-breath, 1001 tiny in-breaths are there. Even within out-breath, there are tiny out-breaths are there. So more and more you become vigilant, you are bound to see the cleavages. Ultimately you find there is an agglomeration. There is no one thing called in-breath. It's 1001 tiny in-breaths are coming together and make in-breath. So more and more you go there, you are bound to see. So therefore, seeing the pause between two breaths, it's fair enough. And more when your vigilance increases, you are bound to see more. If one could eradicate the accumulated taints to a certain extent, will that shorten one's samsaric cycle? According to this particular sutta, the Buddha recognized 7 kinds of, or 7 types of stains. Asava, the very first one, is the most light one, that you can eradicate just by observing, just by seeing and just by noting. That is called dasana pahatabba. If that is the case, your life cycle, your samsaric cycle will be reduced to 7 life cycles maximum. Or by advancing you can go to 1 birth, or not coming back, or completely eradicating in this life itself. That is how the Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami and Arahat being recognized. So if one could eradicate the accumulated taints to a certain extent, but I doubt whether we can say it's an accumulated taints. Taints, there is no accumulated thing, it is not a substance, it is arising here and now. It is also Pachuppanna, something arising depending upon. It depends upon the ignorance. Due to the ignorance only, taints arising. Due to the taints only, ignorance arising. They are happening in the reciprocal way. Otherwise, there is no accumulated thing in a worldly meaning. If it is so, there should have accumulated place also. There's no such thing. These are immaterial things. Venerable Sir, could you kindly clarify whether there is any that describe the details of the Vipassana Jhana? Of course, I have one person has done a MSc thesis, and that is basically based upon the Maha system. And in the Maha system also, there are some books, but not completely covering the issue. To understand this weakness, I translated the Mahasi Sayadaw's Vipassana Shunijang, and it is explaining all the Vipassana Jnana in detail. That it means 1,000 pages, 4 volumes, and that is a good book. Originally it is in Burmese. I put it into a Sinhala as much as possible. Nowadays I am translating that into English also. This is way good, but otherwise if you can refer to the Visuddhimagga, there's one word, whether there is any article. In the book, there's one word I can't understand. Must be a literature that describes the Visuddhimagga is giving a fair background, skeleton. Not only the skeleton is fairly described, but Mahasi Sayadaw has given the pragmatic side, experiential side, so therefore it is more appealing. So these are the way you can get the theoretical understanding. Is it published already?
No, not published yet. There are 2 footnotes, but he said that probably by next year.
That is, I also came to know that there's a team is working to translate this Vipassana Shunichang into English. And I heard they are going to give descriptive square boxes whenever the Abhidhamma terms are available. So therefore they are undergoing the scrutiny. I don't know when it is going to publish. And in Sri Lanka also Venerable Rerukani Chandavimala, who fairly helped translating these Mahasi books, also done a small abridged version. It's not fully treated, but anyway that is also the book is in Sinhala. It's called Paramparika Satipatthana Bhavana Krama, something like that. Sampradana Kulo Paramparika, they are also available. But the best is the Shunichang. There may be some other books from the Moguk system that is also limited to Burmese. It has not been translated yet. Mahasi is the one translated, and Mahasi Sayadaw itself has given number of discourses. And Satipatthana and others, the discourse on the Satipatthana, I am not quite sure, may be carrying the systematic treatment to the subject. Here Bhante, if you, within bracket 1, has seen, tasted the joy, the happiness of meditation and feel happy and want to share it with your mother, friends, etc. So you can encourage them. How would you suggest we do this generally or genuinely? So this is, I cited this event whenever explaining this Vipassana Upaklesha, whenever in meditation where you are going to have very clear-cut understanding and the foresight, it is you feel like sharing with others. So when that happens, what happens is immediately your attention go away from the meditation and you feel like future planning and stops this unhindered growth. So therefore you have to understand, more than teaching others, you have to fulfill this clearly understanding. So you must not try to go off the track. If you are going to off the track, ultimately your understanding also will be weak, and what you are going to teach also is not complete. So therefore, understand on the way, on the vipassana, there are some defilements that if you go prepared, without, instead of going teaching others, you can complete the episode, complete this particular jnana. Otherwise, that your over-enthusiasm to read others and teaching others will disturb it. That is what you have to prevent. If you keep on practicing, this is not the only time you are going to get this particular jnana. It will happen in 1001 times in future, and you will be mature enough to share it later. But now it is too immature. That immaturity is the only reason that you become so urged to tell others. Once you come to the maturity, it will take care about itself. But this presented, so you can encourage them. The presented in a way, as if this is teaching others is encouraged. No, my idea was to give, it's a hindrance, it's a distraction. So therefore, don't think about teaching others. First try to get it reinforced within, and the balance can happen later. Dear Bhante, in the course of watching the in and out breathing, eventually there comes a time where the touch point become more focused. At that time, there is a lightness around the center of the forehead. What should I do then? Please advise. So, that indicates that when the touching point, whether it is that particular person is feeling at the end of the nostril or top of the lip, that is not clear, but indicates when that happens, the attention goes to the center of the forehead, that the lightness arises in there. But even then, if the touching point is something practical and pragmatic with the in and out breathing, best thing is to keep the attention with the touching point rather than this lightness and the other places. So therefore, maintain the main object, that means the touching point, which is more practical and which is the place you started with, then meditation will not be upset. If you are going to change the focus, for example, to this lightness in the forehead, that we can consider as a distraction. Thank you. Explaining the unseen third layer of the defilements, Asava Dharma, you explained very well indeed. Is Devadatta the biggest victim of the Asava Dharma so far? Devadatta is recognized as the person coming within the dispensation and did the biggest harm. So therefore, sometimes it says he managed to do this much of damage because he got a lot of magical powers, extrasensory sensational powers, and he misused it, and therefore ultimately he himself ruined, and it made a very bad tarnishing or black mark to the sasana also. Therefore, while you are achieving, if you do not develop this humbleness or honesty and kind of thing, it gives the sword with the double edge. It can cut, it can damage you as well as the sasana. So Devadatta is one of the examples. He was at the beginning, very good in getting up to the samatha level, but maybe that he is lacking the vipassana, the understanding the danger of desire, the conceit and the views. He went ultimately against the Buddha with the royal power of the Ajatasattu and did a big damage, not only to him, not only to the Sasana, even the Ajatasattu lost the chance. And in the literature, he considered as the biggest danger to the Sasana. But I think for that also, he accumulated qualification for a long time. In the each and every Jataka, he came with the Buddha, accumulated the qualification to become Devadatta. I think it is not easy for everyone to do it. You have to try a lot. When one gets a nimitta, can you hear sounds? When do sounds get completely cut off? At what stage of this meditation? Nimitta used in number of ways in the literature. Even the touching point of the breath, also known as anapana nimitta. That is the starting point. So at that time, of course, you can listen sounds. But later, light perception happens, aloka nimitta happens. It has a counterpart object. And there is also been nimitta. I think this question is relating somewhat there. At that time, you are not completely cut off from the sounds. There are chances for you to listen sounds. And when the sounds get completely cut off, at what stage of the meditation? When you are seeing, you can't hear, even without meditation. So therefore meditation has nothing to relate it with these sounds. Whenever you are seeing, you are seer, you can't hear. Because one thing happening at a time. So only that understanding will you relieve from all the sounds. Sounds are always in the way, but you must have hearing ear or sensitive ear and the consciousness to sounds to happen. So therefore usually one author has mentioned, sounds are not really disturbing you, you are the one disturbing sounds. So that means that there's one, how do you call that, Webu Sayadaw, there's one Sayadaw. He was not much well learned, but he has visited Sri Lanka also, but he's a very acquired kind of person. He says, when you are sitting in the group meditation, noises are happening. Some people are coughing, some people are closing the doors and all the kind of thing. So if it is irritating, you can understand my mindfulness and the concentration is up to the level, it is being disturbed by coughing. It is disturbed by door sounds. And sometimes you feel, at a stretch you never heard anything. Your mind is so focused on the object, that means that does not mean that it is no sounds, but you are not there to listen. So therefore when the meditation becomes well aligned, the sounds are there, but you are absent. So, for example, one day one person come and brag about his teacher in front of the Buddha, telling my teacher was sitting in front of the side of the road, and there was 500 bullock carts went there, and so much of clouds came and sounds came. But my teacher do not know, when he get up and see, he can see his whole body is covered with dust. And then only he asked the assistant, then the assistant has told, there are 500 carts are going, that is why the dust. And the teacher do not know. Then the Buddha came and he says one day, that kind of a thing happened. After the harvesting, in the paddy field, there had been one hut made for the harvesting purposes, and the farmers are busy with the next season, and the Buddha on the way go there and sit in that hut. And when he get up, the whole paddy field is full of people and crowded and so much of thing. Then while he is walking, he asks the person, what happened, why these people are? Then the person says, where were you? He says, I was inside this the hut. Were you sleeping? No, I was not sleeping, I was meditating. Then he says, just few minutes before, huge rain came, thundering happened. Twin brothers were working in the paddy field, had been stuck and dead. And the 2 cows also dead. That is why the villagers are here. Then the Buddha says that he never heard about this thundering and all the kind of thing. Then he asked that the other person whether the bullock carts or thundering, which one is more disturbing. Then he says, of course the thundering and this is disturbing. But the Buddha says, I was in such a meditation, deep concentration, I don't feel, I don't hear. So therefore, the amount of sounds or source of sound which is disturbing indicate your development of meditation. So you have to develop to the meditate up to the point even you don't hear the thundering sounds. Then you are good, better off. So don't worry about these all the other sounds. Let the people make it. Don't get disturbed or don't disturb sounds. You just continue with. Soon after the sound, mind will come. If you are going to discourage and dishearten, then it is that damaging. So you come back soon after the comeback, just like a beginner, start with the primary object and go ahead. That is how we get the distance or liberation from the sounds. Otherwise, we will be always asking that soundproof auditoriums and all the kind of thing for meditation. Of course, at the beginning it is good if you have, but ultimately you must develop kind of a concentration and the mindfulness to meditate in the average situation. So therefore, one day we have to thank for all the people, those who are making sounds. That was the real version that the Webu Sayadaw says. He says, one day you will thank the people because they make good exercise for you to see whether I can maintain my concentration and the mindfulness without distracted by these sounds. And even if you feel thankful, he says, don't get up and go say thanks. That is mistake. You continue with the meditation. That's, I think, all for the English questions. Others are basically Singlish questions. Venerable Bhante, you preach that not only our Lord Buddha inherited the Vinaya, and it is being under research. I can't understand this because our Lord Buddha had Swayambhu Jnana or Samma Sambuddha. Were you also undergo any research by anybody? Please forgive me for asking that. One of your Sravaka, Theruvan Saranai. This term that Vinaya or V-I-N-N-A-Y-A written. Not only our Lord Buddha inherited the Vinaya and it is being under research. I remember when I am mentioning that the Buddha definitely recommended and appreciated this moral restrainment, but even in the, not only that, even the Western people also now come to know, without this moral restrainment, very difficult to have a sustaining kind of concentration and the insight knowledges. So therefore they started behavioral medicine. This is not only by the chemicals taken you are curing, you have to adopt yourself with the food, dwelling and kind of thing. Exactly when you are meditating, you have to change your lifestyle. Without that, results are not really anchoring. So that is the point that I wanted to make it. Maybe this is what referring to that. The Vinaya, of course, the Buddha has been very clearly depicted and practiced and given the example. But Western Buddhism started with the Vipassana first. They started with the insight meditation. There were some ad hoc kind of experience, and when they are searching why it is not persistent, they also now inventing and see their lack of sila and lack of dana is undermining this experience. So they are also now giving more value, more weight to explain the value of the moral restrainment and your behavioral pattern in order to establish your already gained concentration and the wisdom. And so therefore it is a good trend. It's a good trend because they are finding the relationship between the panya and sila. Between the wisdom and the moral restrainment, they are very crucial two factors. But at the beginning, the Western Buddhism was basically biased more towards the wisdom. Now they, after 100 to 200 years time, they try to come into the balance with the both. But so therefore, I doubt whether I have challenged any Swayambhu Jnana of the Buddha or challenging of any Samma Sambuddha quality of the Buddha. That is there, but even that same thing coming from the West also something appreciable because it's a healthy sign for the Western Buddhism. That's all as far as the written questions are concerned. We have taken 1 hour and 45 minutes. But this is becoming a one-way question and answer session. And so therefore there is no dialogue happening. That is why I try to share with the all and try to get some more opinion from the audience also. But I think with the time passes, number of questions will be reduced, and so we can go for rather discussion rather than a question and answer session.